Now we will discuss foodborne diseases, the diseases that are linked to consumption of food. So we'll have an introduction about this topic now, and we'll discuss in the next sessions more detail about every disease that is caused through food. These are on the rise globally. Foodborne diseases has become a serious health concern nowadays because there are increasing number of foodborne incidences that are being reported every day, and it is becoming a serious threat. That is evident from the fact that we have got 76 million cases of foodborne diseases or illness reported every year, out of which 325,000 hospitalization cases are observed every year, and out of these, there are 5,000 deaths per annum. So these are the reported figures, although the real figures from the developing countries or underdeveloped countries might be very high. So that shows the importance of this topic, that how foodborne illnesses are affecting our health and the way they are changing the economics or the economic effect on different countries. And the reason for this increase in this kind of incidences and the disease burden that is related with foodborne diseases are several, but probably they are because of the food consumption pattern have changed over the years. We have got all the changes in the consumption pattern of food, or liking or disliking of food, or the way the food is consumed or stored or preserved. And similarly, the consumer demands are changing as well. They might be looking after for varieties in their food choices. That is one of the factor as well that makes the producer to make more food, more variety of food available at different times to increase the shelf life of that food. Similarly, there's far more change in the dynamics of manufacturing of food, retail and distribution of food, and storage of food as well. The food supply has become very much global. Every food ingredient travels a lot of distance before it reaches to your table. So these all factors make this topic of foodborne diseases to be very important, and it has to be considered very seriously. If you look at the emergence of new pathogens or new diseases is also getting very common. This is because of the fact that antibiotic resistance is also taking place. So microorganisms are acquiring new traits, and they are spreading in the food supply. So that causes a lot of new incidences. And similarly, the people who are susceptible individuals, they are also increasing. For example, infants and elderly ages people, they are more at risk. And if there are more disease, or people have got more disease burden in a country, that would mean that there are more number of people who are susceptible. So there are three causes: biological causes of foodborne illnesses, chemical causes, and physical causes. Biological causes are quite common, I would say. In case of foodborne diseases, they are the major cause of, they are linked to foodborne disease. There are more than 40 different pathogenic bacteria that are reported for food, and they cause different diseases. Some of the important microorganisms that I would highlight are Salmonella species, E. coli, especially strain 157H7. This has caused several diseases. Then Listeria monocytogenes, Clostridium perfringens, Clostridium botulinum, Staph aureus, and Campylobacter jejeuni. These are the major foodborne pathogens that has caused a lot of foodborne incidences over the years. But there are other, as I said, there are other pathogens also that can cause foodborne illnesses. If we talk about the symptoms that are related to these foodborne illnesses, they are quite common for all the kinds of these diseases. For example, they might involve headaches, muscle pain, nausea, fatigue, chills, fever, stomach upsets, vomiting, and diarrhea, etc. So all of them are linked somehow to these symptoms. The people who are at higher risk are the young people, infant people, older people, and people who have got compromised immunity. So these people are high risk population that would be actually affected more than others by these foodborne pathogens. The food which are commonly involved in food-borne incidences are the one that has got a neutral pH, higher moisture content. For example, seafood, seafood products, egg, milk, meat, dairy products, and fruits and vegetables. So they are mostly linked with these kind of foodborne illnesses. If you talk about viruses, previously we discussed bacteria. If you talk about viruses, they are some of the viruses that do transmit through food as well. For example, this hepatitis A and hepatitis E, these viruses are transmitted through food. Other viruses are Norwalk group of viruses and rotaviruses. These are also transmitted through food. So they do create illness or disease once they find their way into the food chain, and then they can be transmitted to the population. There could be other parasites other than bacteria and viruses as well that are linked with the disease, foodborne disease. For example, they are Entamoeba, histolytica, Giardia, lambia, Cryptosporidium pavum. There could be different worms as well, which are like Ascarius lumbricoides, Tinea solium, etc. So these worms, they can find entry from soil or from fruits and vegetables, when they are not properly processed, or from the food which has been grown under irrigation by sewerage or something. So these are the pathogens, biological based pathogens that can get into food and that can cause serious foodborne diseases. We need to look at some of the other things that are linked with food, although they are maybe chemical in nature, but some of them are naturally occurring substances. For example, we can have oxalic acid in rhubarb. Similarly, some of the other foods as well can have certain naturally occurring compound like solanine in potato that can have some of the poisoning effect. There might be unavoidable contaminants, for example, aflatoxins, because from our field mostly we would have many crops that favor the growth of molds, and then they produce molds and fungal infection that can produce these aflatoxins. Agricultural residues, for example, pesticide residues, and some of the fungicides residues that might get into our food chain, and that can create certain foodborne illnesses as well. Heavy metals are another source that can get into food, causing certain diseases. And another thing is food allergens. Although there are very few people who would be prone to allergies from certain food products, but this can be serious in many food when people can actually have disease, or they might have paraphylaxis, or they might cause certain deaths as well. So this was all a general overview of the foodborne diseases that are linked with consumption of different kind of food.